Yeah.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Talk Family Civility. I'm Dr. Rebecca Harper. How are you today? It is Monday. We know that so much in the West is happening, but when I look at what is happening, I think our youth are speaking up. Everybody's uniting against a common cause, and we're saving that house that is presently on fire, which is what racism in America. And, let us just, we had the show last week about it, but this time we're talking today a very passionate subject for me, because I believe that education and knowledge is power. And this is the topic of one of the solutions is education is so key. Give me 2 seconds while I share on my other pages and make sure the word gets out. If you're watching, please, please, please comment and share and be part of the conversation today, because, you are part of our knowledge. The viewers are just as much geniuses as us speaking, as we will now introduce my amazing guest. Dr. Mutola is a fellow World Civility Ambassador, and he's also the ICN African Educator for 2020. He is both a life and love coach with an intrinsic passion to help you discover your purpose in life and maximize your potential. To the effect, he's focused on the individual's personal growth, fulfillment, and happiness, something that we all search for. As a love coach, Dr. Mateus' greatest joy lies in the fact that he has seen most of his clients meet the love of their life, get married, and being happy, regardless of the socio-cultural stigmatization, race, age, and religion. Dr. Mateus is a pioneer of the genius philosophy, of which we're going to talk a lot about today, which postulates the very human being is born a genius. He is the founder and president of World Changers Initiative, a non-government initiative that promotes civility, honor, and interfaith peace. Dr. Mateus is the author of 6 life-changing books and holds a doctorate of philosophy from the United Graduate College and Seminary International. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. Mateus. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Rebecca, for the opportunity and the privilege to be part of your show. And I want to say congratulate you for your program, Family Civility, which is really changing lives around the world. I love so much to watch your show, and I love your heart and concern for the family, and in particular, the understand you have how important the family is as a stronghold or as a foundation for a strong society and the world at large. So thank you so much for having me on your wonderful show.
And thank you so much for staying up, because I know you're ahead. It's nighttime.
Yeah,
we ask all
that's true.
We ask all our viewers to please share, comment, and be part of the conversation. So with the first question, the genius philosophy, I'm just going to go right into it, because I love it. I love it as a parent. One of my sayings is the greatest gift to our children are the opportunities to succeed. And one of in my first book, actually, Communication is a Family Game, I speak about being a coach in our child's life. And one of the things about being a coach is finding their genius or their talent. And how, it's so easy to find a child's talent if it's tactile, if it's a football player or, a baker or sports. It's like, yes, we know. But then my third child knocked me, because he, as I call it, has cerebral talents. He's an empath. He's a leader. And there are not many avenues as a young child that caters to finding those talents. And therefore, their confidence gets blown earlier on, because they're not the football star like their big brother, or they can't bake like their big sister. Who are they? And that confidence gets mashed up. How is it as a parent or from having a child that we don't make the mistake of killing that genius in our children so that they can grow up to find their genius?
Well, first of all, let me just take on pick from what you just said at the genius philosophy, which is a philosophy which I came up to understand that every human being is born a genius, and the reason is very simple. When we go to the dictionary, we see that the genius, when people talk about the genius, they're talking about someone who's super gifted, someone, for example, there are some tests which are done, tests which are done to find out
Mhm.
whether genius or not, and I think it's called the IQ test, and you need to have about 150 points to be regarded as a genius. And many years back during the Greek era, they used to look at some external physical features to detect whether you were a genius or not. They look at your physical appearance, like your height, your complexion, your nose, your nose, your charisma. Then they say you're a genius. And they understood that a genius, to be a genius, is a gift from the gods. Like, is it the gods chose you to be a genius? And if the gods not choose to be a genius, you are not supposed to be a genius. So, and then it was taken mostly to the academic side, or the scientific side of life, academic side, scientific side of academic. It was attributed to the inventors. People came up with great inventions that really turned the world around. Then they consider them to be a genius. In other words, you had to have a supernatural ability or gift to be considered a genius. But then when I began to study, really think about it, I came to understand that every human being comes from the one source, which is God. And then there is a law which says that every seed will bear after its own kind. If man comes from God, and we understand God to be Almighty, all wise God, all omniscient God, we have to understand that man, though man may not be God as such, but some attributes of God are found in man, because God is spirit, man is also spirit. So the spirit of man is the genius in man. That's number one thing to understand. The genius in man is the image and likeness of God in man. That makes man a genius. Number two, because man is the image and likeness of God, man has got to be, so his genius is in the fact that he is the image and likeness of God. Then we come to the third aspect. We need to understand that when God created us, He gave us gifts and talents. So our genius is also in our gifts. In fact, our
Mhm.
gifts reveal our area of gift, our genius, where our genius is supposed to be directed to. So we need to watch out and understand that the geniuses has to do with every aspect of life. Your area of influence, your area of gifting, that's your genius. That's where genius is. So it's not just about one area like the academic, or the genius for sports, the genius for writing, for writing books, the genius for the different aspects of life. So our aim in life is just to find out where is your area of gifting, and that's where you are created by God to function. That's where genius is. So you gotta find that out. In addition to that, for example, if you watch like birds, birds do not struggle to fly, right?
Mhm.
We know that fish do not struggle to swim. So you take a seed or a plant, put on the proper soil, it will not struggle to grow.
Mhm.
So your area of where, see, this area, your genius is your area of gifting, and God deposited a gift in you which make you function in a smooth way, in an airway. Don't struggle as such, because it is natural to you.
Mhm.
So that's why even in the dictionary, when this is what they have done, when they define the genius, they talk about all these big supernatural things, but somewhere towards the end, they'll talk about your natural ability. So it's not just about supernatural giftings and all that, but your natural ability, where you can function and the flow naturally. That's your area of gifting, and that's where your genius is. So
Mhm.
you have to tap into that. So that's what we need to understand. So as a parent, we need to watch out our children. Why? Because from the very tender age, they begin to reveal to their parents or to those or guardians or whosoever is raising them up, they begin to manifest their gifting. They begin to manifest their area of gifting as well as where their genius is. So parents must pay close
Yeah.
attention, must become watchful. They must learn to
Mhm.
read in between lines. For example, a child can say, well, when I grew up, I want to be, for example, like President so and so, let me say, head of state. He's 5 years old. What most parents say do is they snap that, they reject that. They say, oh, it's
Mhm.
just a boy, it's just a young boy,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's saying. But you see, they are revealing to you as a parent that they got a leadership gifting.
Yeah.
That's where their life assignment is directed to. So we need to begin to jot down, take notes of their words, watch how they play most of the
Yeah.
time. They also end up revealing where the inclination is. So we need to be very attentive. And of course, if even if this child does not seem to like go for knowing, let me say, sports which are or air sports which are well known and all that, but still, if a parent should be able to jot down and begin to find out. You see, this is interesting. The parent must begin to study as well. You see, if I
Uh,
find out this child has got a mission or is flowing into leadership, I must
mhm.
start about leadership as a parent. So I can begin to communicate that to my child
Mhm.
at the language which he understands. That's number one. Number two, create opportunity. Even as a child, as a
As
tender
I
age,
say, it's a great
create
gift we
opportunity.
can give our children, our opportunities to succeed.
Yes, exactly. We
Yeah.
have to begin to create opportunity for them to
Yeah.
activate,
Yeah.
for them to activate their gifting at a very tender, younger age. And then as they begin to do that, it will eventually become their second nature, natural to them.
Mhm.
By the
Mhm.
time they reach their teens or they begin to enter into youthful life, they begin to have these as their part of their second nature. It's going to help them flow. It's going to
Mhm.
help them flow even when the circumstances do not allow. A prayerful and watchful parent should always be seeking for opportunities to let the
Mhm.
child develop his gifting. For example, as he grows, find leadership books for the child to read. As the child grows and matures, begin to find which books can read to the child with do with which has to do with the leadership or with leadership or painting, whatever he wants likes to do, and find toys related to that which may help the child assimilate and develop his skills.
Yeah. I mean, my son, it's so funny because I go off of my three kids who are three completely different children. And I think, God gave me these three children to actually see this happening in my life. Because
Mm-hmm.
at my eldest, completely amazing in sports. Completely. I mean, I was I was having dreams of holding the Jamaican flag at the Olympics. Never happened because he's not a competitive child. He
Right.
just is naturally talented in any sport the boy took up. So I had to learn through him to raise the child I had, not the one I wanted, because here it is. I was dreaming of glory. And he was like, Mom, I just like to play. I'm not that dream of glory type. And he has ended up being an amazing mechanic. So that same vision and tactile and spatial awareness that I I think I gave birth to all of my spatial awareness to my son because I have none. So I think I passed it all on to him. But he's now a mechanic and studying to be a mechanic because he you can see the same talents in sports where he can look at an engine and see what's wrong, or he can look at the spatial thing. And I have
Mm-hmm.
a daughter who is extremely artistic, whether it is in baking. Because of her autism, she's also very specific, so her baking and measuring is precise. And she loves to paint. She does graphic. She's very artistic. And even though she has autism, I have not stopped her from pursuing anything a
Mm-hmm.
child would have. She wants to do it, Great. I'll find a tutor in graphic design. That's where my money goes. My money does not go to iPads, in fact, birthdays are very difficult in my house because they're like, well, we don't want anything, Mom. Buy us, cards, and
Okay.
then, yeah, like, but the baking supplies are what presents are, or tools from being a
Interesting.
mechanic. And my little one, though, as I was explaining earlier, he stomped me because, ironically, he was the most like me, and because I was brought up to be belittling my talents, I automatically started belittling his.
Wow.
And saying, he plays chess really well, and he plays card games really well, and he plays table tennis really well. So I'm pushing him in the table tennis because that's a sport. And then I'm like, hold on, he's a leader. Put him in scouts. He's very good at making friends and being his authentic self, and people gravitate towards him. He's an empath like me. And I was like, why am I not putting him in things to encourage these talents? Because I wasn't. And so I was, yeah, go ahead. So I was stifling, that's the word, his genius by putting him in traditional sports activities and art activities, instead of creating. And then I found a leadership camp. And he went at 12 years old, and he was writing his resume at 12. He was doing interviews and acing them at 12. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
And he's not, and if COVID never happened, he was actually going to end up at 13 being a counselor this year because they saw leadership skills. And you're right. We don't want our children to be politicians because of our stigma against politicians. But why not? And especially what's going on right now in the world, in America, I turned to my son and said, Benjamin, you don't have that eye. You don't see color. You will treat a white man in front of you as a judge the same way as you will treat a black man in front of you as a judge.
That's right.
And so I'm encouraging him to pursue this, because I know he will make a change. And
then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to add this. There's a very interesting lesson to pick from your testimony, is that parents need to understand that we are not supposed to superimpose on the destiny of our children. It has been already wired in them by God at creation. That's why we need to learn to tap into that, to have goggles to see the wiring God has deposited in them, and simply guide them into that. So your story is wonderful. It just reveals that we are just supposed to be there to discover and just guide them. Even sometimes they end up changing. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm doing this tomorrow. We just keep and watching eye. And discern what really is there inside them, and help them see that as well, and then seek for opportunities to release them into that, so that they can fly.
And how do we do this? I mean, how do we help as parents? Because again, we're fighting a culture where it's almost like we've had generational stifling of our genius. You know what I mean? And how do we break the cycle of stifling our genius? As I explained, if I did not fit into the genius mold of being a lawyer, and I'm not sure if I know in Jamaica we're trying to break the mold of traditional colonial education system, where you are taught to be a lawyer, doctor, police officer, teacher, traditional professions.
Right.
And so we have to break the cycle to find, it could be a genius, as I said, as a graphic designer, or in animation, or doing Facebook lives. How do we monetize all geniuses? instead of
Right.
rewarding
Mm,
some and not others.
right.
You know, and how do we stop the stifling?
I think one of the things parents need to understand, first of all, that the children do not really belong to them. They're just like custodians, so to speak. They
Correct.
belong to God. And then that's a very important thing to understand. And then God, in creation, has fully deposited the gifts, the seeds of greatness in our children. Then that our assignment as parents is to seek for these seeds, see them, and then help these seeds germinate and grow and to look for avenues to release them. Then we need to understand that though we are in a society which is full of standards, we are not supposed to conform to societal standards, in particularly as far as life in general is concerned. Because if we are unique individuals, it's normal that we should be free to manifest our uniqueness in
Mm-hmm.
our togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been taught that what is culturally or socially accepted is the norm. No, it's not the norm. Someone or a group of people created that. They made it to be like that. For example, if you talk about colonialism, one of the things which they've done, the system has done, is the embrace on education. And they've created a system which would get people go to school or educated, but not allow them to think and not allow them to be who they are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So then, if you come to Africa, for instance, we are told that we are supposed to be seen but not heard,
Oh,
right?
yes. No,
And,
not just Africa there.
okay,
Again.
so yeah, okay.
Oh, Jamaica,
So,
children are to be seen and not heard. I love that one.
uh, so in reality, such statements were created in order to uh, separate the society into classes. The class of those who can be are supposed to be. Maybe I'm going to use this harsh word. They're going to say the oppressors and the oppressed.
Yep.
So they had to use that to separate the two and say, you guys say this side, we are the ones who are making it happen. We still on this side. So we need to understand that is a man-made thing.
Yes.
So being a man-made thing, we are free to break loose from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, there might be a price. It will not be easy. People look, friends, maybe neighbors or family members may not agree to that, may not accept that. But we need to understand we are here for one major reason, to empty ourselves. We're
Yes.
here to give a contribution to better mankind and make the world a better place. So unless I play my role to the full, we can't better mankind, we can make the world a better place. So as parents, we need to be very daring to encourage our children, to help them, to motivate them, to push them through and say, guys, you're here to make a difference.
To change
So
the world.
you're here to make, yes, to make a difference and change the world.
Yeah.
And your area of gifting is very important. In Mozambique, for the churches, I've been teaching people not to go, for example, politics because they say that's dirty. But the question, again, the issue is unless we cannot change that which we refuse to get involved into, unless we get people with the right heart, motive, with integrity, character,
Mm-hmm.
honor, personality to go for politics, we cannot change whatever we think is there, which is wrong. There's no way. It will take people to change the system because the system did not come up on its own. If it was a group of people that established the system for the wrong motive. So we need another group of people that we're going to change the system this time or recorrect it or redo it, but for the right reason. So that's what parents have to do and understand that we are not supposed to follow any standardized activity or as far as our kids are concerned. There's a genius for everything, area of life, we must celebrate our children when they discover the area of gifting. We
Yeah.
have to motivate them. We have to stand by them. We have to encourage them. We have to be their main supporters, their
Cheerleader.
fans. You cheer them up, be there for them. Let me say let me say a child plays, let me say handball, right?
Yes.
They got practices and they have these official games on Saturdays or Sundays afternoon. As a parent, make time to go there. Don't just
Oh
say,
my
okay, we're
God.
playing.
I used to
Yeah.
spend all weekend at chess tournaments. All
Okay.
weekend.
Oh,
I remember one
wow.
time I had to work, and I remember, thank goodness, the chess tournament was 5 minutes away from where I worked, and I literally had to like pop out in between, sneak out of my job,
Nice.
just
Nice. Nice.
for myself to say no. I mean, I didn't understand the game of chess. I still don't, but I look at I love
Yeah.
watching it because I look at the faces of the players. And I purposely
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand chess because then I'd get anxious to see if I saw a wrong move. So I didn't get nervous. But I loved watching him play. And I loved seeing him evolve in chess. And it's the same thing with my son. I was at every game. And now with technology, we don't have to not be there. You know, we can
Yeah.
use our
Mm-hmm.
phones and study and be at the game and cheer on, or, you know, if we can't physically be there, because let's be honest, we have a lot of parenting, single parent homes are now the majority of homes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Yeah.
have to, but we have both two parents, or we might have a guardian, or we have a grandma or an auntie, you know, and that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that family civility promotes, is that we accept all types of family, not
Yes.
just
Yes.
nuclear.
Yes.
That is the
Yeah.
best,
Mm-hmm.
and as I call it, the universal design of family.
Okay.
We
I
have,
love
it's
that.
funny because we have universal design for architecture and playground,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have that universal design to family, to say that you can be a member of a family despite your sexuality, despite your
That's right.
gender, despite your the way you think. Because a lot of us as children get belittled because we don't think like our parents.
Exactly.
And we grow up, and we have to also accept that if you have a sibling, or if you have a father or a mother that doesn't accept you, you have the right to go and find your own family that will accept you. And the nation has to accept that family too. So the family that is not biological is also accepted and acknowledged as a family. And you're not made to feel bad that you come from a single
Mm-hmm.
parent home. You know, how many times
Mm-hmm.
have we said, oh, we're helping you because children, oh, youth who do not have fathers, well, they're at risk. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why should you let
Mm-hmm.
that child feel bad that they don't have a father?
Yeah.
Because as you are now saying, that same child has a genius in him.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
maybe his father would have been the one to squash that genius.
Yeah.
That we in our world have to accept and love the family we have, that God has given us,
Mm-hmm.
and that we should, as you say, you know, cultivate that genius.
Yes.
Saying that, how is it as a parent where our genius has been squashed? Because let's take it in, oppression is real, colonialism is real, there are generations of damaged parents from being damaged
Yeah.
children. How do
Mm-hmm.
we empower our parents to find their genius so they are now empowered and confident to help their children find their genius?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. But before I delve into that, I want to just make a note on your personal testimony once again about being present at the children's uh, games. Is there? But that's important because it builds their self-esteem.
Mm.
You know, it says something when I know my mom is watching, my dad is watching, my girl is, my big brother is here.
Oh.
It sends a message to your system. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes a whole difference.
Yeah.
Those sometimes parents not see as that. It's okay. I'm allowed to go and play. I'm busy. I don't have time. But you know, those are formative years
Mm-hmm.
where We are just building or help our children grow, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally as well.
Yes.
So when they know dad is there, mom is there, auntie, uncle, or guardian or big brother is there, it just builds it makes them feel good, right?
Yes.
And it establishes their self-worth and
Mhm.
self-esteem,
Mhm.
and at some point also it helps them refine or establish or even establish their self-concept. I am important, I'm worth it, I mean, I got some support, someone's got my back. And
Mhm.
as they keep on growing, the teens, they get the youthfulness. I
Mhm.
mean, you find that it'll be difficult for them to delve into antisocial behaviors and activities because they know who they are. They've come from a home whether it's a single parent or both parents are there, but they come from an environment of acceptance. Because I believe that one of the greatest pain we have is humanity is lack of self-acceptance,
Oh,
especially
yes.
among young people, and that's why they delve in what they do, drugs, alcohol, prostitution, all that, seeking for acceptance.
Mhm.
Someone gonna look into me and say, "Hey, you are special." So, and Dr. Rebecca, I strongly believe that when we come to this earth, we come with a love tank, so to speak,
Mhm.
and our guardians, our parents, whosoever is there, are responsible to fill up this love tank with
Oh,
love, with affection, with hugs, with affirmation, with encouragement. They have to tell me you're important, you're special, I love you. They have to hug us, and that's it's important for the construction of our well-being as human beings. I really believe in that, Dr. Rebecca, so much in that, and that we're gonna have a better citizens if we have people growing up with the identity, with the correct self-identity, and that's gonna we're gonna have great people that can change the world and make the world a better place to be in.
you're
Then,
perfectly right, Doctor. You're perfect.
mm,
I love the love tank. So let's highlight, like, that is amazing because we talk about filling our cups to give our children, and if our love tank is empty, how can
mm,
we
mm,
how can we fill
yeah,
up somebody else's? So you're so
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I love that. Tell me more.
This is what I believe, Dr. Rebecca.
Mhm.
I believe that human being is a few dimension, right? We got the spirit, the soul, and the body. So the spirit gets us in touch with the spiritual realm and God, spirit, all that. And then in the physical dimension, that's where we get in touch with our physical world. And our parents, and then we go also the solical dimension, where we find the three aspects. Namely, we find the will, we find the emotions, and then the intellect. Now, our parents have been focusing on the two dimensions of the three mostly. They focus on the physical dimension. They make sure there is shelter, there's food, there's warm clothing, and all
Basic
that. When
things.
they come to the soul, watch this. They don't focus much on the will because they tell you the will is where we make decisions and choices and all that. In some places, in Africa in particular, your parents want to decide for you. You want to choose your career. You want to choose your mate, your wife, your husband.
Mhm.
You want to keep choosing for you. Don't interfere all the time. You're not free as such to make the choices and decisions of your own. But then when they come to the intellect again, they'll tell you. I think they're just repeating what the colonial masters told them: go to school to be someone, go to school to get a good job. So and when they say go to school to be someone, I'm actually, when I say that to you, I'm actually implying that you are nobody actually. You are a nobody.
Yeah.
It is the education or the
Mhm.
job whatsoever, the money gonna make you make you be somebody, which is totally wrong. I don't agree. Then, but they try in that regard, but then they totally ignore the solical, the emotional aspect of mankind. And,
Yes.
and this is dangerous because in most cases we tend to decide and choose emotionally and then reason with our minds. We choose our emotions and reason with our minds. And besides that, a healthy emotional tank will define or establish a healthy self identity or self esteem. So as much as we feed our bodies, we feed our minds when we read and study, we need to fill our soul, our love tank. Watch this. When we do not fill our love tank, which is the soul food for the love tank, the food is love, emotions, it's love, affection, encouragement, attention, affirmation, hugs, touch, and all that. When this is not there, then we develop what I consider to be social deficiencies, right? And number one is unfulfilled needs, because these are basic needs. You need them to be whole as a person, as an individual. So when there is no love, there is no affection, there is no affirmation, there is no hugs, all that, there will be an unfulfilled need. So then the second deficiency is unhealed, unhealed emotions or unhealed wounds, right?
Mhm.
Now these come to pass when things which were not supposed to happen to you, they did happen to you
Trauma.
during your upbringing, right? And this can traumatize your life, cause some
Yes.
trauma and all that, and that's why sometimes, Dr. Rebecca, I think, where people who are grown up but still they can't live or function or be who they're supposed to be, or especially in particular age where the age where they are in, because sometimes they've been hurt. There is a pain they've been carrying for so many years.
They've gone back to
Something
their,
which
Doctor, just to interject, sorry. You're
yes, yes,
perfectly
please.
right. Because what it is that when you're traumatized and triggered, and you're not aware of your trigger, your love tank is an internal resource to cope with trauma.
Exactly.
If your love tank is full, that's your internal resource to say, yes, this happened to me, but I know I'm accepted. I know I'm loved. I
Yeah.
know I'm worth something. And therefore,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not
Yes.
going to let what happened to me affect me. That's
That's
it.
right.
As you say, your internal resource, your love tank is full. Then you have
Mm-hmm.
your external resources. Sometimes it happened to you when it was empty, but
Yeah.
you can reach out to your external resources, which is your family, your friends, a doctor, somebody to say, I need to fill up my tank to deal with this trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what happens is when your tank is empty, I'm going to use this from now on.
It's okay.
When your love tank is empty and you have no resources to go to fill it up, you then go into preservation mode, which is
Yeah.
fight,
Mm-hmm.
flight, or fight.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Study, we've shown it's not youth. So I worked a lot with at-risk youth and youth on probation and youth in justice system. And what we have learned is it's not the fact that you're coming from a single parent home or no father.
Yeah.
It is the fact that you have faced a trauma in your life as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and you do not have your love tank full, or you have nobody to go to, and therefore you go to fight mode mainly. So most people in the
Yeah.
justice system are actually in the fight mode.
Yeah.
Freeze mode is you can't function. You just cannot function. And then the runaways are the flight mode. So you're
Yes.
perfectly
Yes.
right. You're perfectly right. We have to start helping those who have gone. It's as I say, and I talk about it in my book, and teach it in the family civility program. We have to do reaction and proactive. We have to be reactive and proactive at the same time. So
Right.
we can
Right.
be proactive and help a youth, but if we're sending them back home to the same situation and
Oh
they're being
yeah.
traumatized, no matter what, you have to find their way. And that's why I loved your analogy of the love tank. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, it is See, as Francisco is saying, you're a real genius, and your explanation is very profound. I agree. And it's so amazing right now that we are talking. Here it is, I'm a Jamaican in Canada, talking to a doctor in Mozambique on an afternoon and night about exchanging information. And you see, this is what I love. It's not, unfortunately, the first world countries think, oh, they are the ones who have all the answers. And they don't. And I appreciate you being, this is just amazing. So going and since you mentioned from and we have another viewer from Mozambique. Thank you so much for being you're following. What I'm asking is, you talk about the love tank, and I know you're a love coach and relationship coach, and again we're talking about family, so we did the parenting side, but I also talk a lot about self-care for parents.
Yes.
What are some of the jewels you give us today on what parents, especially single parents, can do to find that love? Because if our tank is empty, how can we fill our children's tank up?
That's a very great question, Dr. Rebecca. I think the most important thing to do is to accept our situation. We need to change the gears, get rid of the fleeing, running, or fighting gear, and get into the no gear, neutral, and begin to say, hey, this is my situation. Because most of the time when we in situations which we did not plan, expect, and all that, we tend to live in denial. Denial does not help in the first place, because the more you deny, the greater the pain, the harder it becomes to overcome. And then the greatest danger is that tomorrow you may find yourself in the very same situation which you're trying to run away from. Because and this second time, it will be you attracting, recreating this situation, because in your mind you are living it every day. And if you come to the law of attraction, I mean, the deeply engraved thoughts in yourself becomes a force of attraction. They begin to attract similar situations. They begin to reoccur. This time you are the one creating them. First time you might have been an innocent and the victim. But second time, third time, you might be the one recreating them, because you keep on thinking about them all the time. For you to flee, to fight, you need to keep on thinking, constantly meditating about that situation. And that will get into subconscious mind and will be and we create the situation in your life over and over again. So we need to come to a point where I say, okay, this has happened to me. For example, let's talk about single parenting. Regardless what happens in the relationship, whether there's divorce or leave the other person just out and left with the children, you need to accept that. It's very important to accept that okay, it is over, and I'm here now by myself. Now, then our second thing is, number two, then must I take full responsibility for my life, myself, and my children right now forward.
Yes.
I must accept and agree to be. If I am a male, I must be the father and the mother. If I am a woman, I gotta be the mother and the father. Take full responsibility. This is very important. Then next, I have to begin to re-educate myself. I must train myself now, because in the past we were two, for example, in case of a marriage, but now I am alone, which means every other single responsibility in the family, in the house, with the children, I am the one in charge now. So I must readjust myself. I must re-educate myself. I have to work on my belief system. It's very important, so I can fully accept the situation. That's it. Number four, I have to begin to read a lot.
Yes.
First of all, to build myself up, build my knowledge base. Very important. I have to read a lot to build my faith. If I believe in God, I must develop my relationship with God. It's very important. The next, I have to build myself emotionally. I have to go through healing. Emotional healing is very key.
Yes.
Because you know what happens, Dr. Rebecca, if I'm not healed, or like someone says, hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
Sometimes single parents don't see that as a blessing from God. They see that as a curse, and they end up pouring their pain, into their children,
Oh
begin
yeah.
get mean, mad, screaming, shouting, calling them names, and all that, just because they're trying to get rid of the pain within themselves, which they were hurt by the father of the children, the mother of the kids. Now they want the kids to pay unconsciously. So this is why they have to go for healing, emotional healing,
Yeah.
open up their hearts, open up their scars, and ask God to heal. They have to do that. It's very important. Next, they have to separate the children from their father or from their mother.
Yes.
What happened with me and the mother, the father, is our business. The kids are not responsible for that. Please, this is very important to understand. They are not responsible for that. And I must so take care of them and understand that they are God's gift to me. I'm not fully responsible and raise them, believe in them, and all that. The next, I have to begin to reestablish my self identity. It's very important. I need to understand, regardless what happens in my life, I'm still special as a parent, as a mother, a father. I'm important. I'm special. I am important. I still deserve the best. I'm worth it. Why? Because even myself, I come from God. My specialty, or me, my being special, has nothing to do with my relationship, whether I failed or not, with me being a father, a mother, a worker, a businessman, a woman. No, it has to do with my origin, my source, God the Creator. He's the one that makes me special. So I have to begin to have that in my mind. These are very important. The next, as I do that, I'll be in a better position to begin to fill my tanks to be able to give my kids. But then the next thing to do is understand that love is a very important thing in this world, in life in general. We are creatures of love in the first place because God is love. Then our children need love.
Yes.
Even though I did not have this with my upbringing, in my relationship, and all that, I am supposed now to fill the love tank of my children.
Yeah.
So I have to take little steps. I'm not used to it. I call them, I hug
Mhm.
them, I kiss them, I call them
And
beautiful,
they feel
wonderful
it back.
names.
They do.
So I have to keep, it's a process. It's a
And they fill
process.
it back. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When you fill their tank, it's like God
Mm-hmm.
gives you children to fill your tank back.
Yes.
You know,
Yes,
never,
exactly.
our children, and you mentioned that something that's very pertinent because everything you've said, I've lived it. I
Mm.
am a single mother. I've been through an abusive marriage. I've had all of that. And one of the things that I've had to acknowledge as a single parent going through what I went through and the trauma I went through is there you have to accept your children have characteristics of both parents.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
they are
Yeah.
going to
Mm.
do things unconsciously that will trigger you.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
you have
Mm-hmm.
to be aware not to blame the child for that
Yes.
trigger.
Yes, doctor, you're right.
And I have been guilty of it. And that's why I'm aware of it.
You're right.
I admit it. There is my daughter or my son will say, especially that, and this is why we have so many problems with single mothers with their sons. It's because their sons will have genetical characteristics of their fathers.
Right.
And we tend to be triggered by it. And
Yes.
we as mothers, and I'm one of my advocating platforms is that mothers cannot be fathers. We
Mm.
cannot be, we have to respect that our sons are going to reach an age that we cannot beat them into submission,
That's right. I agree.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot overpower them with physical force in order to get them to respect us. And this is the teenage years. I have a
Yes.
teenage son. He is driving me up the wall right now. But I have to accept that I have to find ways, and it is having to build a bridge and call his father and say, I need help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if you
Mm-hmm.
call him and find a way to do it, I need help. I need you as a male role model in his life right now.
Right.
And if you do not have access to that, I am very grateful for my brother. I am very
Yeah.
grateful for my cousins, my male cousins. I am very grateful for scouts. I am very grateful for my eldest son, who is 7 years older than my youngest son, who he
Mm.
looks up to. And you know how you say to find that genius? It's also to observe who our children look up to.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Because, and use that. My co-host on my parenting show on a Thursday will say it beautifully. He says, find that caring adult. And
Mm.
I have been jealous of
I love
my children's life.
that.
I'm like, why are they going there? Why can't they go to other parents? Why can't they come to me? And that's the issue of acceptance. Sometimes you feel
Yeah.
rejected by your own children because they choose to. And that caring adult woke me up, and I'm like, because
Yeah.
children don't want to disappoint you.
That's true.
You
That's
can
true.
be
That's
such a
true.
good parent where you overshadow them to where they don't want to tell you anything to disappoint, even though you say they can tell you anything.
Yeah.
So the whole time, it's just brilliant what you're saying. And you see, this is what we're talking about, the genius and the love tank and parent. I mean, I think we've tackled parenting so much right now because,
True.
you know, what has happened is knowledge has become a currency in our world,
Mm-hmm.
and we hide a lot of knowledge. And I'm grateful to you because I have learned so much from you even today of how to verbalize things that I did not know how to verbalize before. I mean, when I come off of here, I'm going to hug my children. I mean, I hug them, but I need to hug them more, you know, because
Yes. Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
again, my tank is a bit empty going through COVID and going through so much and
Mm-hmm. For
having them
sure.
all the
Sure.
time here with no break. As a I'm parenting 24/7 now,
Yeah. Sure.
you
Same.
know,
Same.
and you're right. We have to be aware of when our tank is emptying and trying to find ways to fill it back up. And I think that's what you're saying
Yes.
is your biggest message today has been awareness, being aware
That's
of
right.
your tank, being aware of who your children are, being aware of their geniuses, being aware of being present,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, and I'm just surmising now, and I just cannot. I mean, this is amazing. Is there anything else? Because can you believe we've been talking for 52 minutes? We're
That's so. Ah.
so so to
Is
sum
that so?
up after this discussion, I'm going to ask you one last question. How do we create world changers in ourselves and in our family? How can we make
Yes.
every member of our household a world changer?
I think there are two keys, maybe probably amongst many other keys, but the two keys which are very important is to believe in yourself. I think one of the greatest keys for changing the world, even as individuals, as family members, let me say, put this on, inculcate this into our children, is to help them or first believe in themselves,
Mm.
because most of the time, God speaks to us through ideas, through thoughts, through other people, the nuggets that come to us. But the question is, the challenge is, in most cases, we do not believe in those ideas because we don't believe in ourselves. So
Mhm.
I believe that to change really the world, I have to have a very powerful and a profound relationship with myself. I must come to a point where I have a 120% faith in myself. Even when I step into the boat, when it doesn't work, I still have confidence in me that I'm going to come back, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But we have to have a strong confidence in ourselves. Then going back to the examples of single parenting, if I'm a single parent, I have to believe, though everyday reality seems to be contradicting, I can still do this. I am alone, I can still do this. God can help me do this. We have to believe in ourselves. Then we have to teach our family members or children to believe in them. This is key. As parents, we are there, but not forever.
Mm-hmm.
And even as ourselves, there are steps we need to take in our lives, new careers, new adventures, new things we have to do. Get out of the comfort zone. We need to have faith, strong faith in ourselves. I think this is key, very important. And then, because see, just once again, in most cases, we trust and believe, have an unwavering faith in other people, but in ourselves. We
Mm.
need to come back to ourselves and understand that we are the soul or the most important drivers of our destinies on earth. Understand that our thoughts are creative, our emotions are creative, our feelings are creative, our so the general atmosphere of our minds are very creative. So we
Mm.
need to watch those, guard those, day in, day out. Watch the thoughts, the negative thoughts that flash in. Watch the negative emotions that flash in. I mean, even when the situation tells me I have to be mad, I gotta be angry and all that, still, what I have to keep on, train myself to be positive, to have faith. All things worketh out together for good. So it doesn't say whether good or bad, it just says all things worketh out together for good. I have to have this in mind. It's very important because you see the interesting thing about geniuses is that you tend to row against the tide. You always go against the tide. So for you to go against the tide, you need to have strong faith in yourself. Be a man of deep convictions. Be a
Mm.
woman of very profound and deep convictions. This is key and this is very important. Then probably the second thing that can really help a lot release the genius in you is you have to love yourself unconditionally. Learn to forgive yourself. Has human being, you always make mistakes. As we grow, look at us today. We can walk, we can stand properly with nobody helping us. We can walk, but remember that we did not start out life like that.
Yeah.
People had to carry us around left and right. We used to mess ourselves up. You see, but we grew. We made mistakes. We wanna make mistakes. We do our best to avoid, but life is just like that. So learn to forgive yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Just forgive yourself because it's easy for me to forgive you, but not forgive myself. No, forgive yourself and understand that you are also human. At some point, you will make mistakes. So learn to forgive yourself and accept yourself for the way you are. And probably the last nugget point would be a man and a woman of action.
Yes.
Very important. World changes. There are two paths in life. There is the narrow path and the narrow and the broad path. So most the crowds they walk through the broad,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the society because they walk through social acceptance. If
Yeah.
everybody says this can be done, I'm gonna go. If they say this can be done, I'm gonna flow. I mean, no, but world changes. The very few and walk through the narrow path.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Mateus. Please, if you want to learn more about Dr. Mateus, what is your website that how can we find you?
Yes, my website is www.mateusmutola.org, né? OGR from organization.
Mhm.
www.mateusmutola and then .org.
Access
That's where you can find me.
his Facebook page. And if you want more information about what we do, it's familycivilityday.com. That's www.familycivilityday.com. I cannot thank you enough for being on the show. And if God willing and the restrictions are lifted, but in Jamaica they are, yay, we're hoping to have
Yeah.
our Family Civility Conference November
Wow.
15th,
Wow.
and we would love to have you there, as I believe Mozambique and Jamaica can unite and exchange information
Yes,
as family.
I agree.
You're
I
formally
agree.
invited to come to the Family Civility Conference, and it's actually going to be at Hope Zoo in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm so excited because that's my home. Had to have the first
That's
one
it.
back home where I was born. be born. And next week, I have Robert Aurelius, Ambassador Robert Aurelius from California. So we're coming back to this side of the world next week to discuss indigenous people of the world and how colonialization has changed and how we can empower the indigenous families in Canada and the US, and how to break the cycle of colonialism. So thank you so much again, Dr. Mateus. All the best. I have learned so much today on the show, and I want to thank all those who watched and commented. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.